Welcome to another week of Huddle Up. I'm your host, Paul. To my immediate right, JT. Welcome back. A couple
Howdy
weeks
ho.
off. Florida treating you well. I said the tan looked well on you, but you just said you burnt. So
No, I'm not burnt. I didn't get enough sun.
Enough
I'm usually
sun.
much darker.
see, I played football a couple weeks ago, and we all, us and a bunch of the guys, and it was so sunny out. We all were burnt afterwards. So I mean,
I don't burn.
Yeah.
That's my one good thing.
A lot to talk about. I guess we came back at a right time for Huddle Up. If you're watching currently online or on Channel 15, you can give us a call, 802-527-6449. We're going to talk some NFL draft, NBA playoffs, baseball, a little thrown in there as well. And if there's any hockey fans out there, give us a call. We'll entertain you.
Try to.
Entertain the thought about talking hockey right now. So we can, dealer's choice. The NFL draft is on Thursday. NBA playoffs currently going on, and there's a lot at stake for NBA playoffs because if it wasn't a toss-up before, it certainly is now.
Oh, it really is. I've watched almost every game. I did have to turn off the Celtics last night. That was just bad.
For all the Celtics fans watching last night, you probably should have turned to Nesson and watched the Red Sox because David Price threw 14 strikeouts last night, which was quite. That's in the corner of my house while cleaning up. That's what I'm watching is David Price mowing down Atlanta Braves.
The Celtics completely fell apart. Without Avery Bradley, you kind of had that feeling like they couldn't make that push that you expected them to in the playoffs. So let's take them kind of out of the picture.
I'm not going to take them out of the picture yet. The only reason I say
they're going to win Friday night.
They're probably going to win tomorrow night Friday night because neither team has yet to win away.
No.
So they're coming back to Boston. That atmosphere is going to be huge. Is Thomas going to throw up another 46 points? Probably not. But someone is going to step up for that team.
No, and I agree. I think they're going to win that game. I just don't think they're going to move past this series.
And honestly, do you want to at this point?
No, I don't.
Cleveland's sitting there pretty waiting. They've already won.
And then when you look at, did you see the highlights for the Pacers game? Mm-hmm. How does a team that was up by 20 almost the entire game blow it in the fourth quarter? Not only blow it, but then have the chance to tie it and is too slow on the shot. You have to know at that point.
I think this whole series, just for the Celtics Atlanta alone, at one point or another, the Celtics have been down at least 10 points, I think, in every game.
Oh.
And have come back to win. So you devise that question, how does a team do that in the fourth quarter? Ask someone like Atlanta that does it every game.
Oh.
You know what I mean? It doesn't. To me, it doesn't matter first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, fourth quarter. If it's happening at any point in the game, it's the same difference to me.
Oh, I know. The thing that I have found interesting within the playoffs, and more so in the West, the East seems very, and challenge me on it if you think I'm wrong. East seems like a different game of basketball.
In what
Out
sense?
West, it is physical, it is violent, it is technical fouls and bad calls.
I think the problem on that, and I know you're watching every game, I think the problem on that when it comes to the media aspect is there's not a lot of cameras on the East right now because every storyline is on the West. Between what's going on with injuries for the Clippers, you have the Warriors, OKC and Spurs, they've already won their series. They're sitting back waiting for the next series to start. I think the spotlight is on the West, and that's why you're seeing that more. You're seeing it talked about more than the East.
It's not so more the talk about, but it's just when I watch the games.
We've said that forever. We've said that this whole year, that it really doesn't matter who wins in the East.
No.
We think we're more than positive that it's going to be the West that's going to come away with the championship this year.
No.
They're those kind of teams.
But it's the style of play that I find so different, and which is funny because the East has a lot of dominant big men down low that usually get chippy. The chippiness is out West. The Dallas OKC game, every game was a violent barrage of crap calls and chip shots and pushes in the back and swats in the face. I mean, it was a violent series. And when you look at Golden State versus Houston, I mean, Beverly came out swinging at Curry.
Right.
I mean, it was violent from the get-go, and it hasn't stopped. I mean, it has been consistent. And then if you move, what's the other game? The Clippers versus Portland hasn't been as chippy, but the style of game is so bizarre for a division or conference, whatever you want to call it, that is so guard oriented. The West is full of guards. I mean, you're talking Curry and Thompson and Draymond Green, who's technically a forward, but more or less a guard. You've got Chris Paul, you've got Kawhi Leonard, you've got Tony Parker, you've got Russell Westbrook. I mean, this is just guard filled, and they're the highlight players in these, and it is just physical, dirty play. And there's so much dirty, it's not even funny. And I really...
See, old-time basketball fans would say, no, that's just how you play basketball.
No, absolutely, and I won't argue that either, but...
I want to see more physical, physical pushing and shoving when it comes to the NBA because I think it's too soft anyway.
In the regular season, I want to leave it as is. In the playoffs, it's going to get that way. I mean, this is when you're actually fighting for something. Right. It's different.
How the term goes, let the ref swallow the whistle a little bit.
Yeah. But the couple of things that really have bothered me is the ref calls, which have gotten a lot of highlight attention, especially in that Golden State-Houston series where they gave Houston a game. I mean, just blatantly gave them a game. And it's been bad calls since. Now, minus I am a Golden State fan, so I'm not going to claim that it's just them. I mean, it's bad calls all the way around. But they're just nowhere close. The refs need to take a little bit more control of the game earlier. They're letting it get a little bit too far, and or they're just letting it go to a point where it's not basketball, it's street ball, which defeats the integrity of the game as well. I mean, I want physical play, but
sure.
I want to maintain the integrity of it.
Now, a lot of people have said that, I've seen just on social media, is the injuries that we're seeing, people like Curry, Paul, it comes down to how much they played throughout the regular season, which I couldn't agree less with, because the things that happened to Curry, when you're talking an MCL sprain, he slept on the floor. Him playing 53, 50, or 70, whatever.
83 extra minutes that he didn't play last year.
Right. Isn't going to have anything to do with slipping on the floor. That's a freak accident.
No, absolutely. And I don't remember who it was, but someone came out and said this is why they fought for 73 wins, because come playoff time, you're not guaranteed anything.
Right.
Accidents happen. Curry's twisted ankle. That is what it is.
But now I ask you, though, of everyone on that team, you've been focused on this team all year. Everyone on that team, is Curry the best option for someone to have fallen down?
Yes.
That's what my thought process was.
Absolutely, without a doubt.
If I had to have any of their superstars fall, I would almost rather it be Curry, because I don't think they go far without someone like Draymond Green.
No, me either. I mean, Thompson I could kind of put in that category.
Right. But Thompson can step into that role. He can step into that role.
He's a better defender, too. So that's kind of my catch with him. With Curry, it's a big offensive loss, without a doubt.
Sure.
But
this team prides itself on its defense as well. Do they not?
They absolutely do. And I think this is the kind of thing that is different with Curry on the floor. With Curry on the floor, you have a defender that's guaranteed to him. You're not allowed to move from Curry. You have to stay on him. Same with Klay Thompson. You have a defender that's marked on him and says, you're not allowed to move. So that's two guys off the court that no one's going to touch. They're stationary. They're positioned. When you take Curry off that, you can leave Sean Livingston open. He's not taking threes. But the one benefit you have with Livingston, which is why he's done well coming off the bench, is he's huge. He shoots over anybody. So when you look at Golden State and the injury to Curry, which mine is due to the Clippers' injuries it's almost a golden goose for them to be able to maintain themselves.
Right, and that's the one thing I'm thinking of going forward is you have the Clippers are hurt. They're 2-2 versus Portland right now, so you have to win. Is it tonight? I think it's Wednesday night. Is it tonight's game? Something like that.
Are they 2-2?
Regardless. Oh no, I'm talking about Golden State. They're up 3-1.
Yep.
Win now. You need to go out there and win now because you need the rest. That whole team needs that
is
rest.
going to go out
because
swinging.
not only are you going to go if you win the next game, you have the series between Portland and the Clippers. They're 2-2. That game could now that with the injuries that could go 7 games. Mm-hmm. So you're only helping your case now to get Curry back for the for the Western Conference Finals.
He'll be back before then. I mean, he'll probably be back
talking about
2 games in.
Well, you're talking about 2 weeks. So you still have 1 game in your own series.
Yeah.
You still have 3 games in the other series. So 3 games there. You're already talking a week.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right.
Well, more than that because it's 3 days between games.
It's 2-3 days. Yeah. So I mean, and then the next series is ready to start as soon as this one stops. So that's kind of what I'm getting at is that you're in a very good situation for when Curry went down.
Yes.
You have a lot of time in play to get him healthy enough to at least play decently for the rest of the playoffs.
And the thing for me for Golden State is they've
I have
beaten
complete
Houston.
Confidence that they're going to get there.
Oh,
so.
they beat Houston the entire time without Curry. I mean, they've manhandled them.
Curry hasn't been throwing up 40 points a game. He's kind of been lackluster.
Well, he hasn't been in any game.
Right.
I mean, he's been in 2 games, but not an entire game.
Right.
So, I mean, there's a lot of things that are going to happen with that team, and I think the time off isn't so much for rest. I mean, it's rest for Curry and in that standpoint, but it is more important for them to get this game over with, to have a week of practice and inserting the bench player to take over those roles. Ian Clark has to step up. Sean Livingston has to become that starting role again, which he's done fine with it throughout the minimal injuries he's had. So I don't expect anything there. But you've got people like Ian Clark and McAdoo that need to discover their game within the starting team. So I think it's more about the practice and the inserting of players and getting them more accumulated with the starting lineup and getting them more in depth within the scheme of play. McAdoo's been pretty bad lately. Ian Clark's been fantastic. So it's.
I think regardless of who they kind of cycle through that spot, that we're both kind of in agreement. Golden State will have no problem finishing out the last game against Houston and moving on to the next round. But the one thing I had suggested to you a while ago was as soon as Curry went down, and it said this. We both said, this is going to happen. Same things we're talking about right now. They got to do this. They got to do this. It's like, yeah, but don't you think someone like San Antonio is sitting in the corner, watching all these injuries and going, it's time? Because that's what I'm thinking. As if you put myself in the Spurs' shoes here, it's almost like, okay, we battled this. You saw how good we were this year. We don't have injuries, and we're going to continue to play with the dominance that we have all year. I mean, they showed that first round, and now they're going up against OKC the second round.
No, and I mean, the Spurs should have. We expected the Spurs and the Warriors to blow through the playoffs.
Right.
And I still do. I think the one thing, San Antonio's enjoying the moment of the idea of Curry being gone. But at the end of the day,
and they still got work to do. They still got work to do to get to that point.
No, they do, but he's not gone. I mean, he's expected to be back well before they'd see them. But if Curry is not in that team, you don't beat San Antonio. Curry is the one who has eaten San Antonio alive. And without him, that's the series that could crumble. I think they could win it all without Curry, just not trying to get past San Antonio. And when you look at that inevitable matchup between San Antonio and OKC, there's a lot going on there. I mean, OKC is playing well. They've got a chip on their shoulder. They're trying hard. This is more than indefinitely Durant's last year in OKC and the last chance Westbrook's going to have for a foreseeable future chance of winning a title.
So
there's a lot at stake, and to get past San Antonio's going to be a challenge. I mean, they've got it all, and they proved it all year long. They play a different style. They can play big. They can play small. They've got great defense. They've got good offense. And the big name players like your Parker and your Duncan, they're fine with sitting the bench. I mean, how many times have we watched Tony Parker get taken out in the first 2 minutes and say, you're just not doing it tonight?
Not only that, but even the starter's not even playing at all.
No,
So.
I mean, they're comfortable with their entire team, which is the same idea with the Warriors, which is what makes them so dangerous. When you look at teams like the Clippers right now, no Paul, no Griffin, you're inserting Austin Davis, no, Austin, what's his name? Rivers, there we go, Austin Rivers, who has been pretty bad this entire playoff series. He's averaging 1 assist a game. I mean, your legs are just gone. And it's not because you lost 2 people, it's just because your bench sucks. When you look at Portland we thought was a dangerous team coming into the playoffs. But their downfall is that they're all guard play. If they're not hitting the threes, they're not winning the game. So that's kind of the difference for them. I mean, you can't see them going far unless they're hot 4 straight games. Or at least 4 out of 7 games. So it's going to be interesting. But I think the biggest news in basketball for me is some of the stuff that's happening off the court. So we've got coaching jobs everywhere. You know, bye-bye Byron Scott. He took the fall for that awful year, which is a joke, and it drives me nuts when teams do this to a coach because it has nothing to do with them. But regardless, so we've got that Lakers spot out there, and everyone's going, Luke, you know, and you know in Luke's heart he wants to go. He would love the chance to be the Lakers head coach, and he's deserved it in his own right.
No, we had said this year, and I know where you're getting at is for I think the coach of the year,
which he voted 9th in.
Which he voted 9th in, and he's not even a head coach.
Yep.
We had said that. I mean, he coached that team at the beginning of the season. That was his team. It wasn't Kerr's team. It was his team. We had both said for that alone and the success that they brought and the wave that they were able to ride throughout that entire section of the season, that he should have been coach of the year.
Oh, without a doubt.
I don't think Kerr has added much to this team except how to stay focused heading towards the playoffs and going for a record that doesn't necessarily translate into coach of the year. It could just be how good your players are in the first place.
So the question I have for you is, what's he do? Does he stay? Does he go? It's in a standpoint of what you would do.
It's right. It's interesting because you're with this team. Now you have to give. This will definitely tell me. This will definitely make my mind up a little more. Was he? This is how ignorant I am about it. Was he with the team last year? Mm-hmm. Okay, so you've already won a championship with the Warriors. You've already won You've already broken a record with Warriors and had a very strong hand in it. You're on your way to possibly winning a second championship. As a coach, an assistant coach, you will say this year, bearing any other crazy injuries or issues, could potentially win 2 back-to-back championships. If that position in Los Angeles is open, I go. That's just me, because you've already proven what you can do as an assistant coach and what you can do with talent. Now it's time to go improve what you can do with no talent, with raw talent. And what better place to do that than Los Angeles, where you're going to be in the spotlight. And if they're going to hire you to get that job done, they're going to have faith in you to spend their money to do what you need to do to get that done. So now, instead of being handed a team, I go to Los Angeles. Now, saying that, if I'm Los Angeles, I don't hire him, because for the exact same reasons. He's shown me what he can do with talent. He hasn't shown me what he can do without talent. Mm-hmm. But he's got to go somewhere to get his feet wet. Do I see that as big market Los Angeles? No, not necessarily. But I mean, there's not many options I can think of off the top of my head where I would take a chance on Walton yet. because of the success of Golden State, I don't think coaches have much to do with that other than what they did at the beginning of the year. My personal opinion.
When I look at Walton, and he's come out and said he has no interest in being a head coach at this point in time because he enjoys the atmosphere. He enjoys...
He's still fairly young, too, right? Yeah.
He enjoys the players that he is working with. He enjoys learning from Kerr.
Right, but I also see that as kind of like the ho-hum answer. That's something that any coach is going to say. What coach right now on a title run is going to say, I like this team, but I'd rather be a head coach somewhere else? No one's going to say that.
No, they wouldn't, but at the same time, you look at what this team is and how the players have all come out and said, we want to stick together. There's no one on that team going, give me a contract, give me a contract, give me a contract. They're like, this is who we want to be with.
Right, I'm positive that no player on that team would also shy away if someone said, hey, here's a big contract.
I would say the vast majority of them probably would. The chemistry that team has been different all year long, and they're a different team. They're a different breed. I mean, that's like going.
You say that now, but I'm curious to see this offseason if they don't win a championship this year, or even if they do, more so if they don't. I'd like to see if someone throws a little money at somebody, how quickly they go.
I'd be curious too, and part of me would.
You would be disappointed as a fan because that's your mindset right now. Is this team's not in it to win money; they're in it to win championships. But that's just the way you don't have that anymore. You don't have. We're seeing that, but it's such a small sample size with Golden State. They've only been playing together successfully for a couple years now. So once this spotlight's been on them, they're under contract. But once those contracts run out, these guys are going to make some big money, and I don't think it's going to be with Golden State.
I mean, we'll see. I mean, the first player that has that opportunity to get paid big bucks is Curry.
Right.
It's the first one. So, I mean, we'll see what happens. I have faith, please, that they stick together. And the other thing is the Durant thing and what happens with that. Durant could change everything.
The reason I could see Curry staying is because unlike most NBA draft picks, Curry went to was picked up by Golden State, and within how long has he been in the
6 years?
6 years. So within 6 years, you have the potential of winning 2 championships. There's not many players that can say they've done that coming out the draft. I mean, look at LeBron. He went 6 years in Cleveland with he sniffed the finals once, I think, and didn't get close since. So he had to go somewhere else to win a championship. Curry doesn't have to right now. Mm-hmm. If his contract is up and he wins 2 championships within that time, where else? Then you're going somewhere because you want to play there. And I see that being as Golden State. I want to go somewhere to have fun and play with a family. You're going to stay with Golden State. Now, someone like, I'm going to blank on his name. Zach Thompson? No, Zach Thomas? What the hell's his name?
Who?
Thomas, whatever. The other
Thompson?
Thompson, sorry.
Klay Thompson?
Klay Thompson, Zach
He's
Thompson.
secured for years.
He's secure. Draymond Green?
Secured.
So, I mean, those are your big 3, if you will. So, I mean, the success there could live within those 3. It's going to be up to other superstars whether or not they want to stick around.
Yeah.
But you've seen players like, is it Iguodala? Mm-hmm. He's been a journeyman. Mm-hmm. So, could he win his championship and see you later? Yeah, he very well could be doing that. Mm-hmm. So I don't know.
So could Livingston. I mean, Livingston's a player.
That's what I mean. Is that some
around.
of these players? I'd be curious to see if they win or lose, who's going to jump ship for the big contract and kind of break that whole. Yeah, I guess we're really not as family as people thought we were.
It will be interesting. But like I said, I have faith that they won't.
All right, I've entertained you enough for talking NBA. Let's jump on to NFL draft. 4 days of fun if you're as football oriented as we are, as you can tell from our helmet logo. First pick, LA Rams are on the clock already. They've already come out. I guess they've come out and said in most ways that they, in every way possible without actually saying it, we're taking Jared Goff from California, number 1. The one thing we talked about was Philadelphia, your Eagles, have pretty much sent the farm, if not close to it, away for the second pick to pick up Carson Wentz. The one thing I'll throw out there, and just to kind of set the stage, is Cleveland had that pick. We assumed that Cleveland was going to take a quarterback because it always seems like they do things like that. They now have the Eagles' first pick of this year, which is the 8th. So for Cleveland, not much. If you were picking a quarterback, there wasn't really much for you to lose in this. You drop back 6 spots, and now next year you get the first round pick of the Eagles. The Eagles 7-9 this past year, likely because of what we're about to talk about. I don't see them doing any better than that. So for Cleveland, you're in a pretty good spot right now by not only having the 8th pick in the draft this year, but potentially two top 10 picks next year. Mm-hmm. Possibly a top 5 pick and a top, you know what I mean? Like, so Cleveland in a great spot right now. Granted, it's still Cleveland; they haven't done anything in years, but they're at least in a position now to draft well if they can actually do so. The Eagles, on the other hand, lots of quarterback controversy. So the one thing I'll throw out to you as an Eagles fan, what is going on?
I don't like Bradford. I didn't like him when we signed him.
Context: Sam Bradford signs a 2-year, $35 million contract, guaranteed $22 million. Goes into the contract negotiations. They say, Sam, you're our guy. You're the quarterback of this team. We're going to give you 2 years. We have a new coach, new regime. Chip Kelly's gone. Bradford, sign away, drink the Kool-Aid. And then a few weeks later, the Eagles jump up to the second pick, and all they're talking about is Carson Wentz.
Yep.
From North Dakota State. So right now, you're Sam Bradford, and you've come out and said, trade me. I don't want to play for you. I'm not going to play for you. I'm not going to show up for you. Because obviously, in contract talks, they led him to believe he was going to be the next quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles. And now thinking with that 8th pick of the draft, you're going to get some talent, maybe an offensive lineman, a defensive lineman, something like that, to help out your team, to help you guys win. And instead, they've traded up to take a quarterback. I'll let you speak, and then I'm going to be Sam Bradford for this scenario.
When I look at it, and I'm going to kind of get away from the standpoint of drafting a quarterback, and well, I guess not really. When you look at Bradford, his season sucked. He was bad. The team was bad. Now, is it all on his shoulders? No, it's not. But nevertheless, the team was bad. He didn't play well. When, as a GM, I'm looking out there and going, what quarterbacks are out there that I could get that are better than Bradford? I don't see any. Bradford's kind of the best chance you got as of what's out there as free agents. So at that point, they signed Bradford. And the 2-year contract really is more of a prove yourself, or
I think it's obvious it's a prove yourself, because from what's added on to it, if he makes the roster, the 53-man roster in 2017, he gets a $4 million bonus. So I think the contract is structured in a way, here's the money, we need you to be our starting quarterback, and if you stick around for a second year, we'll give you some more money with that. Mm-hmm. But I had said earlier to you that this is a win-win for Bradford, and you had said absolutely not. So tell me why it's not a win-win for Bradford.
The reason why the situation is not a win-win or the way Bradford is reacting to it is kind of the lose-lose situation, which I don't think he has a winning one, and I think he's in a tough spot. And anyone in that spotlight is going to be. You're a starting quarterback, although you haven't really proven yourself to be an elite quarterback or anything of real stature.
He's being paid like one.
He is. So, with that being said, he's a starting quarterback. A team trades up to draft a quarterback. You assume you're losing your spot. Well, it's not the case. The Eagles have given you a contract of which is prove yourself. So your job is to go out there and prove yourself. You have not proven yourself to anybody. You did nothing in LA. St. Louis. You were hurt all the time. This was your first season of playing the entire season. So when I look at Bradford, I kind of laugh. I say, here you are, you're saying I refuse to show up, I refuse to participate, trade me. What has given you any right to think you are good enough to do so? You have not proved yourself yet in the NFL at all. You're making good money. You haven't won a championship. You haven't brought a team to the playoffs. So what gives you the right to say, I am so good that I'm not willing to beat out a young talent?
He holds all the cards. He holds all of the cards in this situation because
he's
guess
going to
what?
make his money and not play.
He's already made 22. He's no matter what, whether he plays a down or not for the Philadelphia Eagles, he is getting $22 million of that $35 million contract. Okay, win.
Yeah, and I don't.
There's the first win. Here's the second win. He's demanding a trade. I'm not playing for Philadelphia this year. If you draft a quarterback with the second pick of the NFL draft, I'm not playing for you. I get traded. Win? I don't have to play for Philadelphia? Guess what? He also has a say. Here's a third win on where he goes, where he gets traded to. And the only talks I've heard on things like social media and ESPN and all that stuff is that Denver is inquiring. 4 wins. I get $22 million from the Eagles. I don't have to play for you. I get say in where I go, and it could be the defending champions.
Okay.
How is it Bradford not in a win-win-win-win situation right now?
This is where I'm going to go with it. First of all, Denver has come out and said already that they are not going to take up a high contract. They lowballed.
That's where it comes into play, where the Philadelphia is going to have to eat that contract.
Which they're not.
And they're not going to do. And they're not going to do. However, they've also come out and said that they're not going to just give away Bradford. They're going to need something in return. Now, if you're Denver and say the Eagles want a first-round pick, what's wrong with giving this year's first-round pick? What are you possibly going to get with the 31st pick that you wouldn't already have on your roster right now as the defending champions?
No, and I will say this scenario, him going to Denver is the only winning scenario. The only one. There is no going to any other team that's a winning scenario. And the reason why I say it's a lose-lose is because if he does not get traded, where are you? You're not playing in the NFL. You're getting paid.
A lot of money.
That's great. But you are still a young player who has...
Oh, we say young, but not really. He's getting up there. I mean, this isn't the young Sam Bradford
anymore. He hasn't put in minutes on the field is more of where I'm getting to.
But you look at his career right now. Is he really someone that's going to break records one day? No.
No, but
I think we can make that assumption about Sam Bradford, is that can he go out and win a championship one of these years? Probably, there's a probability about it, but I'm not putting my eggs in his basket to win me a championship.
But he is.
I get he is.
He wants to prove himself.
But he's going to have He's going to have a lot of talent around him to be able to do that.
Oh, without a doubt. But he wants to say, or he wants to be the player he dreamed of being.
I'm trying to think not as Sam Bradford, where yes, obviously I'm going to try my hardest to win a championship for a team. I'm talking about the realist. I'm looking at someone like Sam Bradford. I'm going, this guy's never going to win me a championship. So in my eyes, he's in a win-win situation because he's likely not going to win a championship anytime soon. He's getting paid a heck of a lot of money to do it, and he holds the cards right now with the team that he's in dispute with. That's why I see a win-win with him.
If he can manage a way, personally, if he can go to Denver, that gives Denver a kind of scary outlook for next season, because with the talent surrounded in Denver, he might be good enough.
Peyton Manning, we both agree, played terrible last year.
Yes.
Now put someone like Sam Bradford, where as long as you can stay healthy, that team can. All that Peyton had to do last year was play average ball because that defense was so good.
Mm-hmm.
So you put a player like Bradford, who is an above average player, in that situation, they're still going to do well. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's a spot where if he goes there, I think that team's going to do pretty good. However, I don't see Denver taking any of that money off. They're not going to take that money off of Philly.
They're not going to pay that contract, and it's the same thing they said for.
I don't even think they pay the difference, and we're only talking like $13 million.
Yeah, no, what's Bradford or not Bradford? Kaepernick's contract, 19 million, 17 million, something like that. There was a $4 million gap between what they were willing to pay, or they wanted him to take a $4 million cut, and he wouldn't do it. And it's kind of that same idea for me, where I look at it as a who do you think you are kind of standpoint. You had your rookie year, you came out, you got an opportunity, you flew with it, and you've sucked since. What gives you the right to say I'm better than that?
Because someone thinks he is by paying him that money. That's what I'm getting
at. But they paid him before. They
paid him before, probably knowing what they were doing. You think that this is what I'll throw at you. Do you honestly think the Philadelphia Eagles gave Bradford this contract without knowing well in advance that they were planning on going for a higher pick than what they are right now? Do you think they really were giving Bradford this money? So in other words, what changed in that 3 weeks from signing the dotted line with Bradford to trading for that second pick that you said, holy crap, guys, we need a franchise quarterback?
Nothing, but I think the whole point, and even when you look at the structuring of Sam Bradford's deal, is the simple fact of it's a prove me. So they're going out to pick up a quarterback to develop in case you suck.
And that's why I say that Bradford is in a win-win situation. The Eagles are in a pretty bad lose-lose situation right now. Actually, almost a lose-win situation, because for Philadelphia, you're losing out on money, but you are taking a chance on your future. Last time Philadelphia Eagles took a quarterback in the second pick of the draft, Donovan McNabb, worked out pretty good for you. Another team that we can talk about picks, they don't have one in the first round, New England Patriots. They still don't have their pick. There's been hooting and hollering, give Patriots their pick back, blah, 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 blah. Deflategate is back in the news, and Tom Brady is suspended for the first 4 games of this upcoming 2006.
Which is official, and it's over, and we're done with, so he'll be suspended.
Not yet. I know. It's so funny. I'm going to say 2 things about the whole suspension. One is this entire time, I have not shied away from saying I believe Tom Brady knew what was going on, but I think he just did a very incredible job of destroying or taking the necessary steps to leave no evidence behind. Mm-hmm. I'm 100%, in my own opinion and in my own right, think that Brady knew exactly what was going on the entire time. Absolutely did. On the other hand, on the other part to this, trying to look at this on both sides. If I'm Tom Brady, I do not accept this punishment, and I keep fighting. Because this whole issue that's been brought up, and I've heard callers on numerous radio stations call up saying that Brady's a cheater, Brady did this, Brady that, finally Brady's getting what he deserves. If you were a somewhat intelligent person following this story, you would understand that this has nothing to do with Tom Brady anymore. No. This has to do with the collective bargaining agreement and Roger Goodell. Yeah. That the CBA gave him power to pretty much do whatever he wants to do. Mm-hmm. Punish whoever he wants to do for whatever they had done for really no reason at all, except for, in someone like Brady's case, being generally aware that it's going on. So if you, as Goodell, go to another team and say, I think he's using something on his hands when he's trying to catch the ball, and he might be generally aware that's going on, you can now suspend him. And who can say anything? Nobody. If you're another team, and this is what I've heard, is that other teams saying, or other people saying that the teams around the league are thrilled. They're happy. They're excited. The Patriots are finally getting what they deserve. I would watch your back if you're the other 31 teams, because it can happen to you at any point. Mm-hmm. Drew Brees has even come out and said, this is scary. Mm-hmm. He has this kind of power that he can suspend someone who is probably generally aware of a situation going on. that opens Pandora's box for any player
without
in
a
the
doubt.
NFL. And I'm scared. And that's what Drew Brees had come out and said. I don't trust any one of them now.
No.
How can you?
And when I think about the NFL's biggest issue right now, it's Goodell. And for anyone who hasn't watched the movie, go see Concussion. Have you seen it yet?
No, I haven't seen
All right, I got to bring it over and let you borrow it. Anyway, when you watch that movie, whether you know Goodell or not, your whole standpoint on how awful that man is going to change in a heartbeat. The things that this man has been through and has done within this league from the time he started, because he took over in the middle of all that crap, he's got to go. He is the destruction of football at this point in time.
The problem with Goodell, and it's nothing I can do as a fan, nothing I can do.
Nope.
I have to just sit back, take it as it is. As the players, you should be upset with yourself by giving him this much power.
Mm-hmm.
You gave in this collective bargaining agreement, which came down. That was a big issue. The collective. It went on for months, and how you settled on it was giving the commissioner all the power to be the judge, the prosecution, the execution, everything. You let him be everything. So, as the Players Association, yes, you're mad, but you can't complain about it. You did it. It's like voting for the president. If I go out, if I don't vote for someone, say I go out there, say it's presidential 1, presidential 2, and I don't vote for either one of them, and the one I didn't want wins, I can't say anything. I didn't do anything to prevent that. I didn't execute my right to be able to do that. You, as the Players Association, had a chance to do that. The fact that you weren't able to see that coming means that you need better representation with the Players Association.
Oh, without a doubt.
And that's the problem I have here, is that it's not. And the problem is that Tom Brady's the face, and that's what I really hate about this situation, because that's where everyone's pointing the finger. See, Tom Brady did it. He's the cheater. He's the one. This has nothing to do with Tom Brady anymore. Tom Brady is the result of a terrible negotiation within the CBA, giving Goodell full power to punish whoever he wants.
Oh, absolutely. And then he's not the only one who's stuck in this limbo land. What's his name out in Cleveland, who just failed enough? Nope.
No? Oh, Gordon.
Gordon. You've got Gordon, who yet again failed another drug test, but technically, under the CBA agreement, is eligible
To play this year.
With a little side dot of Goodell approval.
Right. So he can go clean. He can absolutely go clean from now until kickoff on the 3rd or 4th, whatever day the kickoff is. But Goodell can come out and say, you haven't really learned your lesson yet.
No. It's just insane. Now, speaking of craziness in football, got to talk about Manziel. Got to talk about Johnny Football. Okay? Indicted, goes to court May 5th. Is that kid ever going to play a game of football ever again?
It's funny to say that someone like Tim Tebow can have a better career than any other player in the NFL. And then you look at someone like Johnny Manziel, who never got a chance because of where he was. He was in Cleveland, never got the real chance to kind of show off what he could do. And personally, never gave him that chance either. So professionally and personally, he just never gave him a shot. So I say someone like Tim Tebow because that's a player that everyone said could never be an NFL quarterback, and he won a playoff game. So I don't see him ever playing again. It's the same thing I think of when I think of Bob Griffin. It's that kind of same situation. He's got all this hype and nothing really to show for it.
No, I mean, the story is very simple. I mean, rich kid, parties, has a good time,
Right.
is out of control.
Goes to college, lives it up.
He takes it for
Man on
granted
campus.
because he grew up.
Right, and I hate to say that because there are a lot of players out there that do come into money.
Oh, absolutely.
That do very well for themselves. They come from money, and I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head. You could throw Peyton Manning into that mix. It's just they took the opposite road.
Absolutely.
I don't care. Throw the other. Throw
just
Eli.
because you've got
throw
money
Eli Manning
doesn't
into
mean
it.
you're
right.
not
Just because you
bad.
come from money doesn't mean you're not bad at all.
But he is that epitome of spoiled rich kid.
Absolutely.
Who just
doesn't get it. That's the problem. He hasn't figured it out yet. That listen, we're giving you the means. We're giving you all the options. All you have to do is pick the right path.
Yeah.
And not only that, we've got a neon sign lit up. This is the path you need to take.
And then 10 people standing behind you saying, go that way.
And he's still going the other way.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't see him playing again. It's similar to someone like Greg Hardy. I know they're completely two different situations, but kind of something. It's similar in the fact that you've been punished, you've been told not to do what you do, and yet you still open your mouth, or your actions are speaking louder than your words. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't see him playing again, and if he does, I can't imagine the team that's going to give him a shot, because I think anyone coming out of college right now, 6th-round pick, I don't even care, I would have more faith in than Johnny Manziel with my franchise.
I agree. Now, last thing I'll go to in football. How about Norman?
Yeah, that was a shock. That was a shock to me. But what was more of a shock to me was Carolina taking away the franchise tag. I actually can't remember a time in recent memory where that team's done that. Has taken away from a big name like that.
No.
But good for him for going to
mega contract.
Well, not just a mega contract, but he's going out there and he's doing. If you had, this is a situation where you have a player that the only reason he has been in the spotlight was because he was on an undefeated team and he got in a fight with OBJ.
Yeah.
Now you're being paid millions upon millions to play for a mediocre team. It's the best situation in the world.
Oh, he might be the single-handed biggest winner of.
Because I don't see Carolina being able to do what they did last year.
Nope.
And because no one thought they were going to do it last year anyway, so I don't see them being able to repeat that process. So now you're going to a team in Washington that won the NFC East last year. They have a quarterback that they're sticking with in Cousins. So I mean, yeah, it's a really good situation for Norman because he's going to a team that did really poorly against the pass, and he's going to up that team up really quickly. Mm-hmm. Definitely make them a better defensive game because he's an every down type of back, which is what you want out of a player. And he gets to play OBJ twice next year. So.
And the key to it is the only reason he is a good player. I'm not going to take that away from him. He is a good player.
I think a lot of the hype though of last year of the undefeated season.
It's all because of OBJ. It's
right. I think the undefeated season in OBJ is what propelled him to this spotlight, and that's why he's getting paid. Do I think he's a shutdown corner? Absolutely not. But did he fool everyone to thinking he was? Yeah, he did, because he picked the fight with the right person. The person who's always in the spotlight. He was on the right team at the right time. So good for him. He could be very mediocre next year, or he could, in his own way, step up his own game. I don't know. If you wanted me to put to flip a coin on how good his career is going to be this next season rather, I wouldn't be able to tell you. I don't know if he would be mediocre or if he'll be as good as he was last year.
No, I don't either.
Being in Washington is not going to help his spotlight, but the big contract certainly does.
And like you said, 2 matchups with OBJ.
Yeah. I wanted to get into a little bit of baseball. We got 10 minutes left. So what I want to talk about first is something that I seen on TV the other day. So David Price I think this was on Monday or something like that. They said, okay, David Price, here he is playing against, this is his stats against Atlanta. And it said something on thing like a 250 average. He's let up like 46 hits, something like that, in his career against Atlanta. And I went, damn, that's a stupid stat. And I called my friend. I started talking to him about it, and he's like, "Well, I don't understand. Why do you think it's such a dumb stat?" I said, "Because that's his career versus Atlanta, and this kind of goes for all sports. You're talking about a player's statistics versus a team that isn't the same every time." Mm-hmm. So I did some research online. It didn't take very long, and I looked what Price's average was for the current team against Atlanta. Career, and ESPN, great, all the credit to him, they give that accessibility to you. He actually has a 220 batting average against the current members of Atlanta, and all I can think of is, why wouldn't you use that instead? Why would you tell me what a pitcher does career-wise against a team that's never the same.
No.
It's kind of like in the same argument of Brady versus Manning.
Yeah.
So do you know? You probably don't know. It's 11-6 is Brady's record versus Manning, is the head-to-head. Is it really? No. Brady never plays
team.
Manning. It's not even that. Brady never plays Manning. They're never on the field at the exact same time, except for the handshake at the end of the game.
Yeah.
So, is it really Brady versus Manning, or is it? For 8 of those games, I think it was against the Colts. It's Brady versus the defense. It's Brady versus maybe it's Brady versus Freeney. I don't know. You know what I mean? So it's just I think I'm coming to terms with I really hate that stat. It doesn't make any sense. Head-to-head matchups against a team or a player you don't ever get to see.
No, it makes no sense, and it makes no sense in any.
Well, and then that's what I try to think of. I'm like, I really think baseball is the only sport that really does that, where they'll say, this is, David Price's career versus the Yankees. Okay, great. The Yankees of 2012, the Yankees of 2013. Like, you can't put a career because there's different players. The time of day makes a heck of a difference. The time of the season, run support. There's so many different factors that come into it. I really can't stand when they say a career versus a certain team. Now, if you were to tell me, again, like I just said, the career versus the current team, and I don't even care if that player played for Baltimore a few years ago, but David Price played him, tell me that rather than the entire team in general. So I'm trying to think, like basketball, they would never do that. Like Kobe Bryant's career record versus the Celtics, like they never show stuff like that.
Yeah, they do.
When?
You haven't seen those?
No.
Oh, it's all the time. It showed, especially in this last year with Kobe, you got his career numbers.
Okay, well that plays right into it. I don't care.
No.
I don't care. You can tell me what it's like when he plays in Boston. Sure, that's different because he's playing away, I guess. But, I mean, same thing like a goalie's goal differential versus a team all time. Okay, well, did they have all-stars back then? Do they have all-stars now? It's a stat that every time I see it, I kind of roll my eyes. And I had noticed it the other day, and I was like, and that came to, I'm like, wow, what a dumb stat. And I'm someone who loves stats. I love things like that. But that particular one versus a certain team, I could really do without for the rest of my life because it doesn't really tell you anything.
I agree.
Especially when like I'm saying, David Price versus Atlanta career has a 250 average against him. Against the current players, he has a 220. Why not show me the better stat? Show me the more accurate stat. We were talking a little beforehand about Sandoval for the Red Sox. Still on the DL. Dave Dombrowski for the Red Sox, the GM, was on the radio today talking with a local sports station in Boston about is there going to be a weight requirement before he comes back. But part of me, and I've said this before, it wasn't his signing. He can kind of wipe his hands with it without actually wiping his hands with it because Travis Shaw, their starting third baseman, is killing it this year. And it's kind of like what everyone was hoping. Last year, Mike Napoli, first baseman for the Red Sox at the time, killed it in spring. Like, destroyed spring. I think he had like 8 home runs, something ridiculous. And you went, great, he's going to be out the gate. Here comes Mike Knapp, reborn, ready to come back. And he was terrible. Like, so bad we traded him. We let him go. I can't remember which one it was. So there's always that in the back of my head when I see this player do really well in the spring. And I go, is he really going to be this good? No, he has. He's actually lived up to it. And I know it's a small sample size being, they're 10-9 on the season or something like that. 11-9. Played 20 games. Nothing really to put your nose up at, but winning games in April is definitely going to help you down the road come October. And Travis Shaw's the real deal. He's batting .324 this year so far, and he's actually playing a lot more than I think everyone obviously thought he was going to play. And I just applaud the Red Sox for being able to stick with him. To not wither away from a rookie third baseman.
Well, they did. They did until Sandoval went out.
Right.
And then once Sandoval went out, this kid
there was really no other option.
No.
It was like, okay, we got to play him or Chris Young, and no, we're not playing Chris Young.
But the benefit is he got his chance. He knew he was going to get his consistent chance, and he ran away with it.
And he's continuing to do so.
Oh,
as well.
absolutely.
I think he had a couple hits last night. Mm-hmm. But this was the one thing I wanted to talk about for the Red Sox is I always get, when it comes to my core group of friends, I'm always get friends texting me saying, what do you think about this team? This team looks pretty good. I'm always the one fielding questions. And the one thing I keep coming back to is this team can hit. Mm-hmm. Can they pitch? No, not really at all. But they can hit. To throw some stat, I told you I'm a stat guy. In scoring runs this year, they are 7th in the major leagues. But they're the first. They have first place in that in the AL. No one is scoring more runs right now in the American League than the Red Sox. They're 3rd in average, 1st in hits by 20 hits. So they're hitting more than the other team. They're 1st in stolen bases, 1st in caught stealing as well. They've only been caught stealing twice. And they're 1st in how many stolen bases they have. And they're also 1st in on-base percentage. So not only are they hitting, they're getting on base, they're doing the small ball work, and they're not even hitting home runs. They're 26 in home runs right now. So they don't have a lot of power. They only have a couple guys on that team that really can put it out of the park on a consistent basis. And someone like Ramirez, he's not even playing every day. And someone like Poppy, who's like 52 years old, I'm not quite sure. So the problem with the Red Sox is that they're, I think, only half a game out of first place right now behind Baltimore, but they're winning. They're doing their part by beating the teams they're supposed to beat. Mm-hmm. They've beaten Atlanta twice so far in the series. Granted, one game was only a 1-0 game, but they got the job done. Mm-hmm. Their pitching has stepped up. They're 23rd in ERA, which is terrible. They're middle of the pack in WHIP. They're 12th in average against batting. But here's where they kind of come into a better sense. They're 1st in strikeouts. They're striking out more players than any other team in baseball right now. Not just AL, but any other team. Where they kind of get into that average range is they're letting up as many runs as they're scoring. So yes, they're scoring a ton, but their pitching is dropping them back too. Granted, someone like Rick Porcello, which we didn't think was going to do well this year personally, he's 4-0 this year. He's getting run support. David Price, I think he's 3-1 now or 2-1. Is he the Cy Young award-winning pitcher we thought he was? No, he hasn't really shown that. He's letting up some runs, but he's getting the run support. So that's the best part about this team is that they're scoring, and they're scoring a lot. And I said that the first series. I was like, yeah, but this team is really hitting.
This
I know it's
going to be the big test for them.
These next series are going to be pretty big for them. They have 2 games to finish up against Atlanta tonight and Thursday. Then they play New York for 3 games, Chicago for 3 games, and New York for 3 more games. So that's Chicago's playing just as good as any team right now.
No, Chicago's actually the best team in the league
White
right
Sox,
now.
right? As when it comes to records, so they're playing above what I think people thought they would do. So yeah, this will definitely be a big test for them because playing New York just in general. New York is a little under their record, but again, such a short part of the season. Yeah. I mean, everyone's within a couple games of each other. This upcoming
Minus
series.
Atlanta. Atlanta's really at the bottom.
They've only won 4 games this year.
They're 10.5 games back.
Right. Yeah, they're almost eliminated from the playoff contention. New York. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they do against New York. Luckily, their first series is at least at home.
Yes.
Against the team, so I'd be curious to see. And I think Price would pitch the last game of the series. He pitched Sunday. So, and you'd see Porcello on Tuesday, or no, Saturday. So at least the Yankees are going to see our top pitching prospect, which is nice. Yeah.
I have faith in them. I think they're playing well. I think they're going to consistently do well. I like Boston.
Oh, sure. You go 30 minutes about basketball. I can't say one thing about baseball. That's fine. It's fine. We'll see what you do in July when you have nothing to talk about. Less than a minute here on the Huddle Up. I'm Paul. He's JT. I guess we'll leave it at that. If you have a chance to check local sports, we'll be down watching BFA and MVU throughout this season. Come down, say hi, and we'll put you on TV. You never know. Till next week.